Now here at the Bronx Zoo, headquarters of the Wildlife Conservation Society, we're working very hard to save wildlife in wild places around the world. We have scientists out in the field and eco-guards here at the Bronx Zoo that are dedicated to protecting a wide, diverse range of life. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're currently passing over the lovely Bronx River, which is approximately 24 miles long, begins at the Kensico Dam in Westchester County, and is a flourishing habitat for ducks, turtles, fish, beavers, and all manner of migrating birds. And ladies and gentlemen, as we round this bend, we're going to see a lot of activity. In just a moment, you'll see our herd of Barasinga deer making their way to the right-hand side, these large honey-colored deer here. The word Barasinga in the Hindi language means 12-tined, and that's in reference to the mature male deer's antlers that have roughly 12 to 14 points on them. Now, if you look to the extreme left-hand side, those short tan animals you're seeing are called the black buck antelope. The black buck antelope are the smallest antelope species in Asia, standing 2.5 feet at the shoulder. They're also considered to be sexually dimorphic, meaning males and females do not resemble each other in the wild. To the hillside here on the right, you'll see the remainder of our Barasinga deer herd and one or two of our spotted axis deer. The axis deer have been exhibited here at the Bronx Zoo since we opened our doors to the public for the first time in 1899. And folks, in a moment we'll be approaching a hut that tells a very interesting conservation story, and I have a piece of that story available for you guys right here.
Farmers in Indonesia live closely with wild animals, like elephants, which we will see shortly. WCS field staff work with local leaders and farmers in Indonesia to come up with the Crop Protection Unit. This unit created many different ways for farming to continue in close proximity of wild animals. One strategy was to soak ropes in chili powder and place them around the crops. Elephants do not like chili and leave the farms alone, allowing the farmer and the animals to share the habitat peacefully.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all know when we use the word extinct in reference to an animal species, it means regrettably that the animal is no longer living, such as the dinosaur or the dodo. These next animals we'll come up on were on the verge of extinction. In fact, Mongolian wild horses, or Przewalski's horses as they are also known, were extinct in nature for quite some time, and they could only be found in captivity. However, there have been several successful reintroductions of these horses to the wilds of China and Mongolia, thanks to herds that were raised in North America as well as various Asian zoos. Now we have one of our horses here in the foreground. The remainder of the herd will be over to the right-hand side. And as we pass our horse by, you might notice some differences, both visual and genetic, between the Mongolian wild horses we have in this exhibit and a domesticated horse you might find if you were to visit a farm. Mongolian wild horses are shorter in stature with a stockier build and shorter legs, and they also happen to feature the erect mane that's missing the forelock. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that terminology, forelock references the piece of hair that falls directly over the forehead and eye of a domesticated horse, so these horses we have coming up to our right are in fact missing that feature. Captive breeding of the Mongolian wild horse first occurred way back in 1901 with a group of 28 animals. However, we here at the Bronx Zoo acquired our herd just a year later in 1902, and we've done our very best to maintain that herd ever since that point in time. To date, we've had about 50 Mongolian wild horse foals born right here at the zoo. And Mongolian wild horses as a species have a very long and storied history dating back over 20,000 years. However, their official date of discovery is noted as 1879, when a Russian colonel and naturalist, Nikolai Przewalski, encountered the horse in the Western Mongolian territory, earning them their alternative name, Przewalski's horses. Now, as you guys can see, we give our horses a lot of space to run around in. We're still in their area, and as we pass out of that area, I have a note from one of our top conservationists working tirelessly out in the field regarding the preservation of Mongolian wild horses.
I'm Jonathan Slatt, and I'm the Russia and Northeast Asia Coordinator for the Wildlife Conservation Society. I believe that wildlife has a place on this earth, and my job is to find practical solutions that allow people and wildlife to thrive together. Przewalski's horse went extinct in the wild in the 1960s, and on a recent trip to Kazakhstan, I thought about the ongoing and successful efforts in that country to bring these horses back to the Central Asian steppe. The world needs happy stories, to watch the impossible become possible, and to see hope restored. And that's what's happening today with Przewalski's horse.
Now, in a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be coming up on two endangered species that we have here at the Bronx Zoo. One is called the brow antler deer and the second is called the gaur. So we should be coming up on our two species momentarily. Now, until we can catch up with them, my suggestion to everyone would be to look to the back fence line and follow your line of sight to the right. Typically at this time of the day, our animals like to migrate to that back right-hand side. And if you continue to look along that back fence line, you'll start to see some of our gaur, those huge brown animals along the back fence. The gaur are the largest wild cattle in the world, weighing in at about 2,000 pounds. They stand 6 feet at the shoulder and are 10 feet in length, and with their impressive size and massive horns, the gaur have the capability to fend off an attack from practically any animal that seeks to harm them, and as a result have very few enemies in the wild. The biggest threat to the gaur is the loss of their Asian habitats, as well as diseases they contract when they come into contact with domesticated cattle species. Now folks, I know the hill was kind of blocking you, but if you look to that protruding tree stump to the right and then look back behind the tree stump and to the left, you'll get a great glimpse of the gaur. They're all clustered along that back fence line. And if you continue to look along the back fence line to the right, you'll see some of our brow antler deer over on this right hand side. The brow antler deer get their name from the look of the male deer's antlers that form a curvature over the forehead and resemble something of a large bushy eyebrow. However, folks, you're going to have to take my word for it because it is a ladies' day out, so we're not going to see those antlers in question. They're classified as vulnerable in their native Cambodia because they consistently lose their wild space to farming. They're then forced to subsist on agricultural crops, which are not a natural staple in their diets and does not provide them with the nutrition that they need. Now, it's very easy to forget that the Bronx Zoo sits in the heart of an urban environment, but we are being reminded of that fact right about now. The noise you folks are going to begin to hear behind you is not an animal, unless you count New York City drivers. It's traffic on our Bronx River Parkway. The large wooden fence line you're seeing directly ahead of you was specifically built to help mitigate the noise from that outside traffic and to allow our next animal to feel a bit more at home and comfortable in its respected area. Now folks, you've been doing a marvelous job with this so far, and I thank you very much, but I'll take this opportunity once again to remind everyone to please remain seated with arms and legs inside the train, because in a moment, once we pass the fence line, we'll be on the lookout for a tiger. Okay guys, we're not going to have to look too hard. As soon as you enter, look along this footpath to the left-hand side and you'll see Anakin making his way down the hill. Anakin is our adult male Siberian tiger. He's 7 years old and he weighs about 450 pounds. If he goes underneath the train, make sure you guys don't stand up. He'll turn around and walk back up the hill in a moment. And my guests in the back, I did not forget you guys. As soon as you clear the fence line, just look down to your left and you'll see Anakin on the left-hand side. Now, a tiger such as Anakin will hunt a variety of different animals out in the wild, but they usually prefer medium-sized deer and wild hogs. They'll gorge themselves on a fresh kill, eating up to 40 pounds of meat at one time. Anakin's moved to the center and he's going up the hill now, guys. To put that into a human perspective for those of us on the train, that would be like you or me eating about 160 hamburgers in one sitting. After a meal of that size, a tiger normally won't eat again for a number of days. And I'm sure some of you are wondering why Anakin appears to be on his own in this area. Adult tigers are naturally very territorial and solitary animals, and they prefer to have their own environment in which to roam. So we let Anakin hang out here on his own today. If you guys would like to see more tigers, make sure you stop by Tiger Mountain during the duration of your visit, where we always have multiple tigers on display at one time in very clear viewing positions. So make sure you guys stop on by and take a look. And in a moment, we'll be passing the back of our brow antler deer and gaur meadow. I don't know how much activity we're going to see over on this side, but hopefully you guys will get a secondary glimpse of our brow antler deer. And you will, if you guys look up on top of the rocks to the right, you'll get a quick glimpse of the brow antler deer. A couple of them were standing up just over the hill there. And in this area, you'll see some wonderful examples of India's national bird, the peafowl, toward the center of the meadow. Males are called peacocks and females are called peahens. Males can be identified by their long blue necks as well as their impressive, beautiful back feathers that they present and display for the peahens during the mating season. The peahens can be identified by their brown plumage, green necks, and lack of back feathers. And it may interest you folks to know that the peafowl are the only animals here at the Bronx Zoo that get free roam and range in the entirety of the zoo property. So with that being said, I encourage you guys to keep your eyes peeled and to keep those cameras out and at the ready, because you might see quite a few of them walking around the roads right near you as you continue to visit us. Now in the meantime, folks, we are approaching a bamboo thicket, and in this bamboo thicket we'll find a wild pig known as the babarusa. Babarusas are native to the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, and in the Malay language, the word babarusa means pig deer because many felt that the male's tusks resembled deer antlers. Alrighty guys, so we're just about at our first pen, And in the first pen, you guys are going to see Julian. Julian is our adult male Barbarossa pig. Unfortunately, he's a little camera shy. He's to the lower right-hand side, but make sure you guys don't stand up. He's not in the best position, but maybe we'll get a much better look at Fez. He's our second male Barbarossa pig. He's directly in the center of the water to the right-hand side. You can see those funny tusks I was telling you guys about. Alright, guys, we had a hard time seeing our pigs. No worries, because I think our next two lovely ladies are going to more than make up for it. However, it's very important that we all remain seated and keep our voices low so we don't startle Patty and Maxine, our two female Asian elephants. Patty and Maxine are the best of friends here at the Bronx Zoo, and as a result, they are always exhibited together. The girls are approximately 40 years old and weigh about 10,000 pounds each at this point. To maintain their healthy weight, they'll eat up to 200 pounds of hay and drink up to 60 gallons of water per day, in addition to a huge amount of vegetation that they have to consume on a daily basis in order to stay healthy. In their trunks, Patty and Maxine have over 40,000 muscles each, and it serves as an incredible versatile tool. The finger-like appendage at the end of the trunk, which is an adaptation that only Asian elephants possess, allows Patty and Maxine to perform very small, nuanced tasks like plucking grass or drinking water. Their trunk could also aid them in a much larger task if they so chose. They could rip a small tree right out from the ground with enormous force. Now, to the left-hand side, we have Patty, and on the top of the hill, we have Maxine. Now, as we pass the girls by, do not be fooled by the wrinkles you might see on them. They live in the lap of luxury here at the Bronx Zoo. In addition to a private pool and elephant-sized back scratcher, Patty and Maxine get special baths and weekly pedicures administered by our zookeepers to make sure their feet stay nice and healthy. Lucky, lucky ladies. Alrighty, guys, as we pull away from our elephant zone, we do have to say goodbye to Patty and Maxine. But no worries, everyone, because we have another lovely lady coming up on the tour for you in just a moment. Her name is Callie, and Callie is a female Indian rhinoceros. Alrighty, guys, I have spotted her. So once you pass the trees and foliage and get to the open area, I'm going to direct everyone's attention to the lower right-hand side in the shade. You're going to see a big mud puddle, and in the middle of the mud, you'll see what looks like a rock with ears, but that's in fact Callie. She's taking a morning mud bath. Once again, guys, lower right-hand side, just past the fence, in the middle of the mud, you'll find Callie. Now, the Indian rhinoceros is a highly endangered species with only about 2,000 remaining in the wilds of India and Nepal. Currently, we here at the Bronx Zoo care for 5 endangered rhinos, and we've had 11 calves born right here at the zoo, with the most recent birth having occurred in the summer of 2013. Now, caring for a creature such as Callie is one thing, but breeding is a whole different and frankly difficult challenge. I'm a little curious, how many moms do I have on the train this morning? Can I see a hand if you're a mom? Hi, moms. We hear something very interesting to think about. A female rhinoceros, such as Callie, is pregnant for 16 months. After being pregnant for nearly a year and a half, they'll give birth to a bundle of joy weighing anywhere between 100 and 150 pounds. A baby rhino will stick with its mom for 2 to 3 years, although weaning is a period of about 12 to 16 months on average. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering why Callie is delegated to spend part of her afternoon in the mud. She is endeavoring to protect her skin. It's a highly common misconception to believe that the rhinoceros is an armor-plated animal. Not the case at all, guys. Callie has very thin, sensitive skin that needs constant protection from the sun and insect bites, and the mud serves her as a bug repellent, sunscreen, cools her off, and cleans her skin all at one time.
The rhinos you see here are Indian rhinos. We work with habitats all over the world that are homes to rhinos. Here is a note from our field office in Sumatra, and Wulan, who works with the Sumatran rhino. Sumatran rhinos are the smallest of the world's rhinos, and they are considered critically endangered.
My name is Wulan Pusparini, and I'm the Species Conservation Specialist for WCS Indonesia program. We carried out an island-wide survey of the last wild population of Sumatran rhinoceros in Indonesia. With so many unknowns on how to manage Sumatran rhinos in the wild or captivity, our studies showed definitively that we must protect them at source. The cost of doing nothing could be the extinction of the species, and I can't imagine that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you've been hearing a lot of deer talk on the tour from me so far, but that's because Asia is a continent known for its deer diversity, as well as a multitude of deer species that it hosts. This large open field you're seeing is home to 3 different types of deer and a species of antelope, but it seems that our animals have migrated over to that right-hand side for the most part. We'll catch up to them in a moment, but in the meantime, I'll give you guys some information. If you look to to your back left-hand side along the circular fenced enclosure, you'll see two of our spotted Formosan sika deer. And the third is lying right over here in front of the fence line to the right. Formosan sika deer are native to Taiwan, which was formerly a territory known as Formosa. Overhunting and loss of habitat eliminated the last wild herd of Formosan sika deer in the early 1970s, and they could only be found in captivity. However, there have been several successful reintroductions of these deer to Taiwan's national parks and Taiwanese zoos, and their numbers are currently on the upswing. Now, as we continue to the right, we'll be also on the lookout for the hog deer. The hog deer get their name from their stature and behavior. They're short, squat, and heavy like a hog, and instead of leaping over things like their deer counterparts, they prefer to duck, creep low, and run beneath their obstacles instead. We'll also be on the lookout for the sambar deer. The sambar deer are the largest deer in southern Asia, standing 5.5 feet at the shoulder. They can weigh up to 650 pounds. Typically, males of that species tend to live alone in the wild, and females tend to live in small, organized family herds. Now, to the right-hand side, you'll see a circular fenced-in enclosure. If you look behind that enclosure, way in the back past the trees, you'll see the sambar deer. They're kind of hard to spot because they have a dark coloring. To the right-hand side on the hill, against the fence line, you'll see our herd of hog deer. And to the extreme right-hand side, on top of the hill, those large tan animals you're seeing are the nilgai antelope. They're the largest and fastest antelope species in Asia, with the capability of exceeding speeds of 50 miles per hour when they run. The word nilgai in the Hindi language means blue bull, and that's a reference to the distinctive grayish-blue coating a male obtains upon maturity. As we cross the double fence line, I'll direct everyone's attention to the upper left-hand corner right along the fence. You'll see one of our little Chinese tufted deer. At 40 pounds fully grown, this little guy is oftentimes difficult to spot. Males of this species have elongated canine teeth that extend down past their mandibles and resemble fangs, earning them their nickname, the vampire deer. Now, much like the white-tailed deer we have here in New York State, the Chinese tufted deer possess a white tail and rump that's vital to deer communication. When feeling stressed, threatened, or endangered, they'll lift up that tail, show the patch of white, and effectively alert all other deer in close proximity to a potential threat. They're very rare to see in zoos outside of mainland China, so we're very happy and lucky to have them here at the Bronx Zoo with us. But in a moment, guys, we'll be passing back over the river, but it's a little different because we'll be at the highest elevation point in the entire tour, which just so happens to be 35 feet above the water. And if you guys like to take pictures as much as I know I do, this is a lovely photo opportunity, so please enjoy. And if you look down, you might see the outline of some fish swimming around in the river. Now, this next rough and rugged terrain we're approaching is perfect for our next two animals, both of whom are species of the wild goat. We have the Himalayan tahr and the markhor. And if I can direct everyone's attention to the right-hand side, you'll see one of our markhor sitting up on top of the rocks. The markhor are the national animal of the country of Pakistan and are the largest goat species in the world. The word markhor in the Persian language means snake eater because many felt that the horns of the markhor, that go up to 5 feet on the males and about 10 inches on the females, look as though two snakes are growing right out of the top of their skulls. The markhor are tremendously athletic animals with the capability of jumping up to 6 feet in the air without a running start. They've been known to climb trees in order to find fresh leaves. As we proceed to the right, we'll also be on the lookout for the Himalayan tahr. The tahr will adapt it to living on the mountain slopes of the Himalayas thanks to a rubbery core that they have on their hooves that acts like the sole of a mountain boot. It allows them to scale the rocks and maintain balance while they climb. We're currently displaying an all-female Himalayan tahr group here at the Bronx Zoo. I believe they're over the rocks to the other side, so we might be able to catch them when we go around the bend. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, due to construction on Jungle World Road, which is located directly behind this train, our red pandas, which we normally would have on this upcoming tree, are not here. They've been temporarily relocated until the completion of the construction. I know that's kind of disappointing, guys, but don't worry because there's absolutely another place here at the zoo where you can go see them. So my suggestion to everyone would be at the conclusion of your tour, you stop in at the Himalayan Highlands exhibit. In addition to having multiple red pandas on display in that area, we also have Leo. He's our adult male snow leopard. So you guys might want to head on over and take a look in the Himalayan Highlands. We have a lot of very cool animals there. Coming up to the right on top of the rocks, you guys are looking at two of our Himalayan tahr relaxing. They're in the shade. And unfortunately, guys, as we begin this decline, our journey is coming to a close. But before I let you folks go, enjoy the rest of your beautiful day here at the zoo. I would love to tell you a little bit more about us if I can. In addition to managing 5 parks here in New York City, the Bronx Zoo, Central Park Zoo, Prospect Park Zoo, Queens Zoo, and the New York Aquarium, the WCS has scientists out in the field at over 300 sites in over 60 countries. And just by visiting us today, guys, you're helping us help wildlife. So I'd like to extend a personal thank you to each and every one of you guys for coming out and supporting us. We're so happy and so grateful to have you guys here. So thank you folks again for coming out. We really appreciate your being here. Now, in a moment, I am going to come to a stop. However, this is not the final stop on the tour. I'm going to ask that we all please remain seated. There's a train at the platform directly ahead of us that's unloading and reloading passengers for their own journey. Once they conclude with the loading process and they completely vacate the area, I'll be able to pull ahead and send all of you guys on your way to enjoy the rest of the zoo.